This is my Canon R5C, but this is not the Canon battery grip. The Canon battery grip costs $350. No, this is a kind of no-name battery grip off of Amazon, and I've been using it for the better part of a few months now. I wanted to test it out and make sure it was working well before I recorded this video. I did mark on it, this works with my R5C, but also an R5 and my R6. It has a little spot to hold the door, because you have to take the door off of the camera. You pull this little plastic nub right there, and then you can get the battery door off and on, and you won't lose it while you're using the battery grip. Now, there does appear to be a few other battery grip manufacturers. This one's kind of like a no-name thing. I'll put the Amazon link in the description, but it does look like Big Mike's battery is using the same build, and you get batteries with it for just $50 more, $180 instead of $130. And there's a couple from Neewer and another company that are in the sub $100 range. Those looked a little jank, so this is what I went with. And I already had enough batteries from SmallRig and Canon to fill this out. So to use this device, you take your batteries, you put them in here. You do kind of put them in at a funny angle. You like drop them in, but don't let them spring out. Make sure they click in. And it's kind of like a drop-in tripod plate. To remove them, you pull this little latch, they bounce off. There's a spring. The springs seem all right. Don't get them wet. They look like they'll get corrody pretty easily. So yeah, click them in and then slide them back into the grip, twist the lock, set it flush. There's alignment pins, which are great, and then the wheel to turn the knob. Now, the buttons on the grip themselves feel a little cheap. They're not the nicest, but I'm not really interested in them for the buttons. I'm more into them for the battery extension. I have to take the door off, like I mentioned earlier, pull this little switch, and the door comes right off. And then do that in reverse order in the grip itself. It should click in here. There we go. It's not going to come out. I'm not going to lose it. And then I can slide the dummy battery part into the camera. The alignment pins line up, and I twist it into lock. Now, this essentially gives me 2 times the battery length. And with the software updates that have come to the R5C, a single battery in 24 frames per second can last you over an hour, especially in power saving mode. I actually don't run the camera in power saving mode because I do like to turn up the luminance on the display to +1 indoors and +2 outdoors, but I can still get about 45 minutes to an hour on 24 frames per second. Now, that is significantly cut down when you jump up to 60 frames per second at any frame size. It's not so much about the frame size in the R5C, it's about the frame rate, because it is processing all those 8K frames and downsampling them to 4K or to 1080, and that just takes power. Now, there is still the trick to jump into your media view when you're not using the camera. If you're doing event work and you're in between shots, hop into media. That'll kind of pause the sensor and just keep the screen up on some previously recorded clips, but then you have to hit the media button again to jump back to record again. And that's what I kind of miss. I am so used to the Canon stills cameras, I can half press the shutter and it'll jump back into record mode. No, you have to hit the media button. So that's the only one downside of hopping into media mode to save the battery. But this doubles the battery life. I get nearly 2 hours in non-power saving mode in 24 frames per second. And then, yeah, maybe like an hour and a half, an hour and 15 minutes in 60 frames per second, which is what I would use if I'm shooting a lot of B-roll that day. But this doubles the battery life. It's pretty handy if I didn't want to put a battery bank onto this camera. I have the cage, I've got the battery grip, or I've got the like V-mount loading thing from SmallRig. Those are great, but sometimes I just want to walk around and get B-roll, and this is the nice thing to get 4K 60 B-roll for a lot longer than I would with just one battery and still keep the camera body pretty compact. I will rig it out when I'm doing full-on production, But yeah, sometimes I want to run a little incognito, and I don't necessarily want to take the R6 Mark II, although for staying incognito, the R6 Mark II has been pretty nice. I just noticed there's a little flap here to allow you to run a like dummy battery into the 2 battery grip. But at that point, if you're running a dummy battery, just put it directly in the camera. I guess this seems a little unnecessary to have the battery grip and a dummy battery, unless you're a vertical shooter. I guess that makes sense. But yeah, pretty happy with this third-party battery grip. I'll put the link in the doobly-doo, and hopefully you can keep your R5, R6, R5C, R6 Mark II nice and well powered up, and still keep your footprint pretty small. I'll see you next time. Peace.